Good afternoon, I'm Mike DiSerio, and this is an NCC News Update. The White House point person on mine safety says the Bush administration is taking bold steps to raise the level of safety in the nation's mines. It's not just seniors who are working out more. The health club industry says their fastest growing age group is 55 and older. Another 10% of the federal rail money is going to this system, the Washington, D.C. subway system. One tip is to make sure these hooks are closed so little fingers can't get stuck. And another is to make sure these bars are close together so their heads can't get through. Most of the flights are leaving on time today, but as more and more Americans head to the nation's airports this summer, industry officials say they should be prepared for some big delays. A federal mandate requires school districts to come up with new wellness policies by this June. Many involve more nutritious food for students, but more time in the gym is also a big component. There are more trucks on the road than ever before.
Head out on the highway!
But getting people to drive them is easier said than done.
We have hundreds of jobs that go unfilled on a monthly basis.
The trucking industry says they're short 20,000 drivers, and hundreds are right here in central New York. Harry Kowalczyk runs the National Tractor Trailer School in Liverpool. He says the driver shortage is holding many companies back.
You go by a lot of companies today and you'll see empty trucks parked alongside their fence with huge help wanted signs.
The industry says the turnover rate for truck drivers is at a record 130%.
I'm the safest driver on the road.
Commercials like this one are part of a new campaign to get it under control.
I'm proud to be America's truck driver.
Despite all the recruiting efforts, some drivers say the pay just isn't good enough, especially on the long-haul routes.
If I take $1.20 a mile load, then I'm only making like 15 cents a mile. It's like slitting your own throat. But yet, that's all you find out of here.
But even with more pay, it will be a long haul before there are enough drivers getting behind the wheel. Mike DiSerio, NCC News. Juanita Abernathy was one of many marching for voting rights during the 60s.
Pledge of Allegiance says, liberty and justice for all.
And for her, the law honors the sacrifices that were made.
There were thousands and thousands of people who died trying to register to vote.
Today, members of Congress, civil rights leaders, and their families all crowded together at the White House. They watched as President Bush gave new life to a law many feel is now a cornerstone of the nation's democracy.
My administration will vigorously enforce the provisions of this law, and we will defend it in court.
The Voting Rights Act requires 9 states and parts of 7 others to get approval from Washington for any changes at the ballot box. Before a nearly unanimous vote in Congress to renew it, some House Republicans questioned whether the 1965 law was still needed.
March from Selma to Montgomery in 1965.
But others argue the right to vote still needs protection.
It's not poll taxes or literacy tests anymore that exclude African Americans or other minorities, but there's certainly still forms of discrimination going on.
It wasn't set to expire until next year, but many felt the need to reaffirm the act before this year's elections. Some, like Abernathy, say the renewal couldn't come soon enough.
I would just like to see it be a permanent extension, that people will have to account for their injustices forever.
Renewing the act was a key goal for President Bush and other Republican leaders this year. They hope their support will lead to more African American votes this November. Reporting from the White House, Mike DiSerio, back to you. A complete look at your news, weather, and sports coming up on NCC News at 5 o'clock. I'm Mike DiSerio. Good afternoon.